Jacobs with running room right up the middle. Jacobs is on his way. The Raiders are going to win this game.
Nobody's going to catch him. 25-20, 10. Ball game. Bye-bye, Josh. 86 yards in overtime.
I have nothing to say. Oh my goodness, let's go home.
What does it take to rise from sleeping in a car to starring under the bright lights of the NFL? Imagine being homeless with the dream to become one of football's elite. Could anyone defy those odds? An underdog who turned pain into practice. A journey from having nothing to achieving NFL greatness. Stick around to find out how one man's willpower carried him from rock bottom all the way to the top. Enter a young running back, Josh Jacobs. A kid from Tulsa, Oklahoma, he had already beaten the odds long before he ever wore an NFL jersey. He grew up one of 5 siblings, raised by his father, Marty Jacobs. Money was scarce. At times they had nothing. And Josh experienced homelessness as a child. He and his brothers and sisters sometimes slept in their dad's Chevy Suburban on the north side of town. Josh's childhood was anything but normal, from a kid growing up in America with no home. Josh found his home in the game of football, where his natural talent could shine when nothing else in life did. Football became the outlet, a way to lift his family out of the darkness. But the road to football stardom wasn't an easy one. In high school, Josh Jacobs was practically an unknown athlete. He attended McLean High School in Tulsa and put up big numbers on the field, including an eye-popping game with 455 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns in one night. Yet, college recruiters weren't exactly lining up. By just 2 months before National Signing Day in his senior year, Jacobs had 0 Division I scholarship offers. 0! Even though he was on top of the stats sheet. What was going on? This was so unfair. Was there a hidden bust feature they could see that seems invisible to every football fan in America? It seemed like major colleges had overlooked this diamond in the rough entirely. Josh was doing everything in his might, and still there was no hope. But Josh had dealt with dark times his whole life. But deep down, Josh felt invisible. Coaches weren't calling. The spotlight he had worked so hard for never seemed bright enough. And after everything he'd been through, the sleepless nights in the back of a car, the hunger, the loneliness, he began to wonder if any of it had been worth it. He didn't feel angry. He felt forgotten, like maybe the world had already decided his story wasn't going to have a happy ending. That's when Josh and his father took matters into their own hands. Following a tip from a coach in Texas, Jacobs created his own highlight videos and posted them online, trying to generate some hype. And it worked. The late publicity blitz caught the attention of several big programs. In the final weeks of recruitment, the University of Alabama, a powerhouse of the SEC, suddenly took notice, joining Oklahoma and Missouri and many more. Josh went from a 0-star recruit to an Alabama Crimson Tide commit. With newfound confidence, Josh felt found in a lost world. All that pain and energy wasn't going to be a waste. He had his chance that he was fighting for and was going to take that challenge on head first. Talk about going from invisible to invincible. He hadn't even stepped on campus yet, but he'd already proven the haters wrong by earning a spot with college football's elite. When Jacobs arrived at Alabama in 2016, he found himself in another uphill battle. The running back room was stacked. Future NFL backs Damian Harris and Najee Harris were also on the roster. But every time Josh touched the ball, he made it count. He ran with a chip on his shoulder. Coaches and teammates saw his inner fire on every carry. By his junior year, Jacobs' efficiency and power were turning heads. He racked up 640 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns in the 2018 season, plus 20 catches and 3 receiving TDs. He even earned MVP honors in the SEC championship game that season, a testament to his ability to shine on the biggest of stages with the best of the best. By early 2019, Josh faced another life-changing decision: go back to school for his senior year or declare for the NFL draft. Already winning a national championship as a freshman backup, Jacobs decided to go pro. He entered the 2019 NFL draft as a bit of a mystery man. Scouts drooled over him. Here was a 5'10", 220-pound back with power, quick feet, pass-catching ability, and the kind of hunger you can't measure at a combine. Josh was confident. He knew hardship. He knew hard work. The draft evaluation process was just another hurdle. Sure enough, on April 25th, 2019, in Nashville, Josh Jacobs heard his name called in the first round. The Oakland Raiders selected him 24th overall, making him the first running back taken off the board. In that moment, the kid who once had nowhere to sleep at the backseat of a car became a first-round NFL draft pick with a multi-million-dollar contract. Jacobs signed a 4-year, $11.9 million rookie deal, fully guaranteed, with the Raiders. Entering the NFL, Josh's dream was straightforward: take care of his family. He wanted to lift his siblings and his dad up from poverty and give them the stability they never had. In interviews, he mentioned his own dreams of his son, Braxton, never having to endure the kind of childhood he did. Every step Josh took on the football field, he considered it a promise to rewrite his family's story. Every yard gained was a step away from the pain and a step toward a better life. Every time he broke a tackle, it was like he was breaking one more chain, tying him to his past. Every step he took was a promise to rewrite his story. In Josh's mind, football wasn't just a game. It was the vehicle to transform his life and fulfill the faith that people like his father Murphy and coaches Nick Saban and John Gruden had placed in him. The stage was set for a triumph years in the making. We love how easily he can smash through pain. So please, make sure to smash that subscribe button below. Josh Jacobs arrived at the NFL like a man on a mission. From the moment he stepped on the practice field with the Raiders, coaches and teammates could feel his determination. He quickly claimed the starting running back job in 2019, and when the season kicked off, he erupted out of the gate. In his very first NFL game, a Monday Night Football season opener no less, Jacobs rushed for 85 yards and scored 2 touchdowns to lead the Raiders to a Week 1 win. It was a debut that made the football world sit up and take notice. Oakland might have found their new workhorse. Jacobs proved he was more than just hype, playing with injury after injury and didn't miss a beat all season. Nothing could stop him. What a beast! He didn't just play. Josh put up 1,150 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns in just 13 games. That was the most rushing yards by any rookie in Raiders history, breaking Hall of Famer Marcus Allen's franchise rookie record that had stood since 1982. Jacobs shattered his mark despite missing 3 games with an injury. In fact, Jacobs had 5 100-yard rushing performances in 2019, another Raiders rookie record. Beyond the stats, what impressed everyone was Jacobs' running style and heart. He ran hard, a downhill, punishing style mixed with a mysterious plan of action. And every time he powered through a defender or fought for an extra yard, you sensed it came from that reservoir of inner strength he'd built up over the years. Teammates saw how he played and were inspired. Veterans like Derek Carr and Tahir Whitehead praised the young back's work ethic and humility. Even opponents had to give him credit. By year's end, defensive players were coming up to Josh after games, saying how tough he was to bring down. He was already earning respect around the league. With his NFL paychecks coming in, Josh didn't waste time making good on his promise to take care of his dad. Right after his rookie season, in January 2020, he surprised Marty with a new house. In a heartwarming video posted to social media, Josh handed his father the keys to a new home. Josh tweeted, "Blessed, just bought my pops a house." That day, a simple statement. It wasn't just a gift, it was a symbol that they had made it to the other side. Marty, who had sacrificed so much and often didn't sleep when his kids did, so they would feel safe. For Josh, this was what all the touchdowns and glory were truly about. Heading into 2020, he didn't disappoint. Josh played 15 games in 2020 and amassed 1,065 rushing yards and 12 rushing TDs. Defenses were focusing on him, yet he still produced over 1,000 yards. The Raiders leaned on him heavily in the red zone, and he delivered again and again and again. By the end of that year, finishing among the league leaders in rushing touchdowns, Jacobs had 2,215 rushing yards over his first 2 seasons, more than any Raider ever. The consistency and impact were undeniable. The league recognized Jacobs' excellence by selecting him to his first Pro Bowl after the 2020 season. At just 22 years old, Josh Jacobs was officially among the NFL's elite running backs. The kid who struggled to get a single college offer was now rubbing shoulders with superstars and getting measured for a Pro Bowl jersey. And he'd done it all while the Raiders were a team in transition. They moved to Las Vegas in 2020, dealing with the world disruptions that year. Yet Jacobs was the steady bright spot through it all. He became the face of the Raiders offense, a centerpiece to build around. In the offseason, he'd return to Oklahoma. He began hosting free youth football camps in Tulsa, inviting hundreds of local kids and coaching them up while sharing his story. Josh wanted those kids to see a living example that dreams are possible no matter where you start. He'd tell them about the nights with no home, about having faith, and about working hard when no one's watching. To those kids, Jacobs wasn't just an NFL player. He was proof that you can always win, even when you never have. In 2021, Josh faced some new challenges. That season, the Raiders had a roller coaster year. It included the mid-season resignation of coach John Gruden and a remarkable playoff push. Jacobs himself battled through multiple injuries. In Week 1, he hurt his ankle. Later, he dealt with a toe sprain. And in Week 7, he suffered a chest rib bruise. Yet he played through the pain time and time again. He still played 15 games in 2021. His stats dipped a bit to 872 rushing yards with 9 TDs, but his toughness earned him massive respect in the locker room. In fact, his Raiders teammates voted him as the team's Ed Block Courage Award recipient in 2022. Jacobs never complained, he just kept running hard. Then came 2022. If anyone had doubts whether Josh Jacobs could reach the very top tier of NFL running backs, that season silenced them in a big way. With a new head coach, Josh McDaniels, taking over in Las Vegas, Josh played all 17 games. And what a campaign he put together. 1,653 rushing yards, leading the entire NFL. He also scored 12 rushing touchdowns and added 400 receiving yards as well. Simply put, Josh Jacobs was the best running back in football in 2022. He didn't just lead the league in rushing, he did it in style, with explosive runs and heroic performances. One unforgettable game came in Week 12 of 2022 against Seattle. Jacobs ran for a franchise record of 229 yards and clinched an overtime win with an 86-yard walk-off touchdown run. That run, bursting through a hole and outrunning the Seahawks secondary for the TD, instantly became one of the highlights of the season across the NFL. Social media blew up, and Raider Nation was ready to give him the keys to the kingdom. Jacobs had several other monster games that year, including a 144-yard, 2 TD effort versus Denver and a 300-plus scrimmage game versus Seattle, if you're counting receiving yards. Josh became just the third Raider ever to win the NFL rushing title, joining legends Marcus Allen and Clem Daniels. The awards poured in. Jacobs was voted first-team All-Pro, meaning he was recognized as the top running back in the league that year. He earned his second Pro Bowl nod, and at the NFL Honors Ceremony, he received the inaugural Jim Brown Award as the league's leading rusher. Jacobs stood on that stage holding an award named after one of the greatest ever, and it was a surreal moment. In his acceptance speech, he said, "It is a true honor to be named the first recipient of the Jim Brown Award, paying tribute to Brown's legacy." This was the mountaintop of NFL achievement for a running back, and Josh Jacobs had reached it. After winning the FedEx Ground Player of the Year, Jacobs directed the $22,000 charity donation that came with it to a local university near his hometown. He never forgot where he came from. By the end of 2022, it seemed that Josh Jacobs could do no wrong on or off the field. But as any sports fan knows, the story is never that simple. Despite Jacobs' efforts, the Raiders as a team struggled in 2022 and missed the playoffs. And another problem, Jacobs' contract situation. The Raiders had surprisingly declined the fifth-year option on his rookie contract back in April. Jacobs responded by having the best year of his life. Now he was set to become a free agent in 2023, unless the Raiders used the franchise tag. In March 2023, Las Vegas did indeed place the franchise tag on Josh Jacobs, with a one-year deal worth $10.1 million. But for a player of Jacobs' caliber, fresh off leading the league, this felt like a lowball offer. He wanted a long-term commitment and felt like he had earned it. Negotiations for a new deal dragged on through the spring and summer of 2023. As the season approached, Jacobs made a stand. He refused to sign and held out of training camp. It was a tense standoff. For fans, it was a nervous period. Would their rushing champion miss games? Would he ever play for the Raiders again? He famously said during that offseason that he needed to feel valued, but he was also keeping his teammates in mind. "I can't just come to work and be like, I'm here, I'm just chilling," he told a reporter. Finally, in late 2023, a resolution came. Jacobs and the Raiders agreed to a one-year adjusted contract worth up to about $12 million. Essentially, no long-term deal, but a bit more money and the promise they'd revisit things after the season. Each carry was a testament to his heart, paving the way for bigger dreams. Now the stakes were higher. A contract year, a team in turmoil, and critics wondering if the 2022 season was a fluke. Josh was about to answer, with the only way he knew how, by putting his head down and running straight through the doubt. If you're rooting for Josh to succeed in spite of everything, comment J and keep watching, because the most dramatic chapters of Jacobs' journey are coming right up. The 2023 season proved to be a defining moment for Josh Jacobs. When he finally rejoined the Raiders right before Week 1, many wondered, would he be rusty? Out of shape? It turned out to be true. The Raiders' offense struggled through the first half of 2023. By mid-season, Jacobs was putting up decent individual numbers, but not explosive ones. The team was losing, and Coach Josh McDaniels' play calling was under fire. Then came a major shakeup. At the end of October 2023, the Raiders cleaned house, firing Coach McDaniels and the GM in one sweep after a particularly ugly loss. Antonio Pierce, a former player known for his fiery leadership, took over and immediately tried to reignite the team. Week 9 of 2023, the Raiders, under Pierce's fresh leadership, faced the New York Giants, and Josh Jacobs was at the center of it. Jacobs ran with a vengeance, as if all the pent-up frustration was being released on the field that day. He racked up 98 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on 26 carries, his best game of the season to that point. The Raiders blew out the Giants 30-6. In the locker room after, players smoked victory cigars, an insane change from the tension earlier in the year. Jacobs couldn't contain his excitement. "The vibe and the energy is just electric right now," he said, grinning ear to ear. "This is the most connected I feel like we've been as a unit." It was as if the Raiders and Jacobs finally had woke up. After that game, hashtag Josh Jacobs started trending on X, formerly Twitter. Fans posted highlight clips of Josh hurdling defenders and bowling over tacklers, proclaiming, "Josh Jacobs is back." Some called him Tulsa's pride. It's amazing how one big game can swing momentum and narrative in the NFL. However, the 2023 season remained a roller coaster. A couple weeks later, in a game against Kansas City, Jacobs had another highlight, a 63-yard touchdown run that showcased his burst. It was his longest run of the year. Unfortunately, the Raiders fell off of playoff contention. Jacobs encountered a nagging quadriceps injury. With nothing to play for in terms of playoffs, the Raiders decided to shut Jacobs down to avoid risking a more serious injury. He missed the final 4 games of the 2023 season due to that quad injury. But then he immediately became a mentor figure to younger players, like rookie RB Zamir White. While rehabbing his quad, Jacobs would be on the sideline coaching up White, sharing tips between plays. Zamir later mentioned how Josh's advice and encouragement helped him prepare for games when he had to step in. Jacobs was starting to become that veteran presence for the next generation of players, something he once looked up to in others. Then came March 2024, the start of NFL free agency, and a bombshell. The Raiders did not sign Jacobs to a long-term deal. Instead, the news broke that he was leaving the desert. In a move that stunned some and thrilled others, Josh Jacobs signed a 4-year, $48 million contract with the GreenbayPackers. When the Packers signed Josh Jacobs in 2024, it marked a bold new era in Green Bay. They released longtime back Aaron Jones and gave Jacobs a deal with $12.5 million guaranteed, showing full faith in him as their new workhorse. For Jacobs, it was both a blessing and a challenge. Validation after years of playing on short-term deals, but also a fresh start in a new city with a new playbook and a fan base to win over. He left the Raiders with gratitude and some emotional scars, having given everything to that franchise. In Green Bay, fans quickly rallied behind him, flooding social media with images of Jacobs in green and gold and tagging hashtag GoPackGo with renewed energy. The gamble paid off fast. From week 1, head coach Matt LaFleur built the offense around Jacobs, who didn't miss a beat. He rushed for 1,329 yards and a career-best 15 touchdowns, while adding 342 receiving yards and his first career receiving TD with the franchise. He was the centerpiece of a top-5 run game and gave Green Bay a reliable force to lean on, especially with a young quarterback under center. His standout games, including a 3 TD explosion against the 49ers, turned heads, earned him NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors, and helped the Packers to an 11-6 finish and a playoff berth. He was voted to his 3rd Pro Bowl and became just the 4th running back in team history to do so. Off the field, Jacobs became a quiet leader in the locker room and a fan favorite in Wisconsin. He connected with fans by sharing his journey from homelessness to stardom, often dropping humble thank yous in reply to viral posts. His impact went beyond the numbers. He inspired hope, played through pain, and elevated his teammates. In the playoffs, he gave everything in a tough loss to the Eagles, scoring Green Bay's only touchdown and earning respect even from the opposing defense. Despite the early exit, there was a clear silver lining. The Packers had found their guy, and the culture was shifting. "This one hurts," Jacobs said, "but we'll be back." And if his first season in Green Bay proved anything, it's that he's far from done from writing his story. From sleeping in the back seat of a car to standing on football's biggest stages, Josh Jacobs' life is a testament to turning pain into power. He started with nothing, no home, no guarantees, and through faith, hard work, and the power of love for his family, he rose to achieve everything he dreamed and more. Every setback only fueled his drive harder. Every doubt he faced, he answered with action on the field. A first-round NFL star, to an all-pro game changer, and ultimately to an inspiration well beyond the football field. He ran through every wall life put in front of him, and he's built a legacy brick by brick from those very walls. Yet, if you asked him, he'll say he's not done running, not done dreaming. Josh Jacobs turned no into yes. His story changes all of us. When life knocks you down, will you stay down, or will you get up and run forward? Josh showed us that with heart and hard work, you can rewrite your story. So, will his incredible rise inspire you to chase your own dreams, no matter the odds? The next chapter is yours to write. Josh Jacobs ran through walls to build a legacy. Will his story inspire you to chase your own? If you thought this video was interesting, you'll definitely like this one.